Jamaica for keeping faith with the Jamaica Labour Party. Conference, you look good. You look good. A certain energy in the room. I feel it. I sense your expectations. I can read in your eyes that you want a change. I know you feel it. I know you feel it from the people that we want a change. I am proud. I am proud to be your elected leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. And I am proud to stand here as great leaders of the Jamaica Labour Party have stood before. Bustamante stood at the helm of the Jamaica Labour Party, and he managed to secure better working conditions for the Jamaican workforce. He secured rights for labor. And when Jamaica was at a crossroads, whether or not to go federation or go independent, Bustamante stood at the helm and guided the country into independence. Edward Seaga stood at the helm, and when we were being led astray by alien ideologies that destroyed our economy and threatened to destroy our society, Edward Seaga stood at the helm and guided the country out of that wayward way and onto the path of recovery, stability, and growth. Bruce Golding stood at the helm. And during those 4 years that the PMP don't like to hear us talk about, we managed to keep the economy stable in the worst global recession in 70 years. We kept the dollar stable. We handed over the dollar to the PNP in 1989 at $5.51. When we took it from them, the dollar was at $69.83 to $1 US. And now we give it back to them. And in 3 years, you know how much is the dollar as of Friday? Anybody can tell me? The dollar is now $113.17. We brought down interest rates when them used to laugh after man a yard in Parliament that we couldn't get cheaper money to borrow. We brought mortgage rates to below 10%. We started to return hope to the private sector that the economy could grow. For that, we can thank Manayard. Manayard, you should stand up and be acknowledged by conference for the work that you have done. You know, the other day, I was driving through Fern Gully, and it was raining. And I said, but wait, something strange. I can drive through Fern Gully when it is raining. Because before, Fern Gully used to flood out, and the town of Ocherios used to flood out. You know why that is possible? Because Mike Henry built concrete road and put in drains. The other day, I had to drive to the airport and there was some rain again. And I said, but wait, what is strange here? Because before, if a little breeze blow, the Palisade does block and you can't go to the airport is inaccessible. Now, when you land, you drive on a first world highway. Is who do that? Mike Henry do that. When you talk about the bridge in Harborview and the Westmoreland Bridge and all of the roads done through JDIP, the PNP in their 3 years can't compare to what we did in our first 3 years of our last term. Somebody sent me a picture on my Facebook page, and the picture is that of an old man holding in his lap an older man in the waiting room of one of our hospitals. Crowded, packed, and everybody is frustrated and distressed. That is the state of our healthcare system today. We did not give it to them like that. We introduced a policy of free access to healthcare. We decided to fund healthcare. We paid over to the hospitals the fees that they would have normally collected. For the first time, Jamaicans found it possible to go to the hospital to seek healthcare. Before, they used to stay at home, trying bush remedies, and when that failed, they just stayed here and died. Roddy Spencer, in his brief time has fixed more clinic in our last term than the PNP has even attempted to do in this term. But more than that, in our last term of government, we had something called the H1N1. You remember that? We had the swine flu. You remember that? And we had something that maybe the PNP them would get it if it came now. It's called the hand, foot and mouth disease. But let me ask you a question. How many of you got the H1N1? How many of you got the hand, foot and mouth? How many of you get chikungunya? Listen, it's not a pretty thing, you know. Not a pretty thing. All know I have some pain in my joints. And you notice that Juliet happened a little bit because she still have a little pain in her knees. The government had 2 years notice that this thing was coming. And they did nothing tangible. But this is a perfect example of the difference between the Jamaica Labour Party government and the People's National Party government. They don't care. I don't have to tell you what we did in education in 4 years. I think that record stands on its own. In tourism, I don't need to tell you that Ed Bartlett grew tourism arrivals by 3% every year. That under Ed Bartlett, tourist revenue earnings increased to $2 billion for the first time. That under Ed Bartlett, Jamaica became the most connected destination in the Caribbean. And we did it all in 4 years. We built more houses than the PNP in our last 4-year term than they have built in this term. In fact, we're not sure if they built any houses, because the big housing project that they were supposed to build in Dunbeholden, where people gave them their money, deposited on the house, oh no, them can't start it. They have destroyed the housing agency of Jamaica. But you know what is worse? They have destroyed the NHD. Need to go into the details. Audley has done a very good job of explaining this terrible scandal on our nation. It's not one bailout, it's 2 bailouts them get. But you know, in all of this, what is bad? The Prime Minister had the gall to come and tell us that low-income housing grants would be cut in half. Last year, they were able to give over 200 persons low-income housing benefits to totaling somewhere in the region of $209 million. This year, they are going to cut it in half, and they will only be able to give 124. So while they're taking poor people money to give it to their special friends and company, they are cutting the benefit to poor people. How can you trust this government? They claim they love the poor, but they do the very thing to hurt the poor. The Prime Minister in Parliament said the NHT is not the Ministry of Tourism, meaning that the NHT can't run a tourist attraction. Then she go on to say she gave instructions to the board that the board should find ways of developing the Outameni attraction into a theme park for students and visitors. Then what is that? No tourist attraction. Even if it's local visitor visiting, no still tourist attraction. Then she said, well, I only knew of this a few weeks ago, and now we're seeing where the Prime Minister had ultimate knowledge, intimate knowledge of what was happening. And for the Prime Minister to say, I am ignorant, I don't know, means only two things. One, she was negligent in her duties to supervise the board of the NHT, in which case she should resign as Prime Minister and not wait to face the electorate. She should resign. But if it is as she claims, that she never know, and the board hid it from her, then if that is the case, then when she discovered it, and if she disagreed that the action was not right, then she has a duty to fire the board chairman and fire the board. But she didn't do that. She didn't do that. Instead, she came to Parliament and she tried to obfuscate, confuse, and as Audley said, oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we try to deceive. So it appears to me that because she has not acted against the board, the only thing we can conclude is that she agrees with the purchase of Outameni. That she possibly knew and authorized Outameni's purchase. That's the only conclusion that any reasonable person could draw from the facts in front of us. But this is not a lonely incident. This is a trend of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, in her inauguration speech, and when she was swearing in her cabinet, she said, the people of Jamaica want an accountable government. You remember that? You remember that, Madam Prime Minister? You remember that, Madam Prime Minister? Where was the accountability when Minister Azan built shops and was collecting rent from shops built by public funds? Where was the accountability? Where was the accountability when your Minister of Energy messed up our energy projects, set us back several years? Where was the accountability? Where is the accountability when your minister of government spend $1 million on telephone calls? Where is the accountability? The message you send, Madam Prime Minister, is that in your government, everybody can do what they want, even if it hurt the people. Why? Because as you went to Westmoreland and said, you said is for your country, that you have the title in your drawer, lock up for it. And no matter where you do, the people of Jamaica go and still vote for you. That is where you believe, Madam Prime Minister. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that. For you who have come here today, some of you get up from 5 o'clock, some of you take taxi, some of you squeeze up in a bus. For you who have come here today to participate in the democratic process of your country, to participate in the politics of your country, you don't believe that. You want an accountable, a responsible, a honest and forthright government. And in you coming here today, you come for the rest of Jamaicans who are sitting in their living rooms, frustrated and angry with this government, but not yet at the point where they feel that it is important to come out and vote. Today I want to charge you with a mission. When you go back to your communities, find those people who are of the view that voting don't make a difference. Find those people who are of the view that PNP and JLP is the same thing. Find those people who are frustrated and angry and turned off from the political process and say to them, listen my friend, it is time to believe again once more. Let us do it again one more time, because if we don't do it, then the PNP will carry this country down to the bottom of the barrel, and we cannot afford that. I stand here today, Labourites in the arena, Jamaicans watching all over, to give you my commitment. I am different from Portia Simpson Miller. I pay the price for being different from regular politics. I faced you in 2011. And I told you the truth. I never hide it. I never butter it up. I never pretty it up. I tell you what was going to happen. I am not a liar. But for many Jamaicans, on the night of the election, you went to bed with Portia Simpson Miller promising you oxtail and curry goat. You went to bed with Portia Simpson Miller promising you Jeep. You went to bed with Portia Simpson Miller promising you cheaper electricity. You But you wake up with Peter Phillips attacks your backside. You wake up with Peter Phillips at your tax by your left and right. You go to bed expecting an IMF deal in 2 weeks. It took them over a year before they could secure an IMF deal. And during that time, the conditions of the economy worsened. You cannot trust these people. I am different from Portia Simpson. I don't stand here because I feel that I have any entitlement to position. I don't stand here because I want position for resume. I don't stand here believing it is about me. I stand here to serve you. I want a chance to serve my country. I want a chance to help to build Jamaica. I want a chance to make my country grow. I want a chance to see your children succeed. I want a chance to lead this country. And I am well aware of the errors of the past. I am cognizant of it, I'm sensitive to it, and I have tried my best to stay away from the mistakes of the past, to bring a new kind of politics to Jamaica. And I believe that the Jamaican people are ready for it. I believe that the Jamaican people are ready for change and progress. I was born in 1972, the year Michael Manley won the election. My mother was a civil servant who struggled hard to send me to school. I don't come from wealth. I come from the circumstances that all of you in here come from. I know it, I lived it, I appreciate it, and I want to change it. I want to change it for you, and I want to change it for your children. I don't come to tell you how much I love the poor. I don't come to use the poor as a means of getting power. I don't come to do that. I love the poor, but I hate poverty. I believe in prosperity, and I know that Jamaica is destined to be a prosperous country. So it burned me when I hear people use the politics of poverty. I born and grew in a one-bedroom board house at 56 Cumberland Road in Spanish Town, right next to the Garcia Market. Nobody tell me about poverty. and them never ask anybody for anything. If we hungry, nobody no know. Because though we were poor, we were proud people. And so I grew up not to pity the poor, but to have respect and love for people who are poor. And I know that the only way to lift people out of poverty is by education. Education is the vaccine against poverty. In me, you know there is someone who will ensure that your children will do better than how you did, because that is the definition of progress. That is the definition of prosperity. So, in wrapping up labor rights, the theme of our conference, Jamaica, the theme of the conference is from hardship, from poverty, from belt tightening, from holding strain, from fiscal constraint, from fiscal consolidation. We're moving away from what they all call that now, austerity. We're moving away from austerity and we are turning our face to prosperity. We want to claim the future that God has bestowed as a blessing on us. We are not ashamed of saying we want to be a prosperous nation, and there is nothing wrong with that. How are we going to do it? I have been spending my time in opposition, building a new bus, building a new vehicle, finding the people who can augment the skills that we already have in the Labour Party to take on this mammoth task of revolutionizing Jamaica. We have a new bus, and you know you have the new driver. You know, it's a long time we don't have no nice thing. Long time. And as I look in the audience, I see a whole heap of young people. A whole heap of young people. They have never experienced a time in Jamaica when the economy is booming. They don't know what we mean when we say we are going to grow the economy. You know what a growing economy looks like? When you're flying over the port full of containers, and the containers that are coming in are full. But you know what? The containers that are leaving are also full. You know what a growing economy looks like? When you look at the skyline of the city, all you can see is construction train and man go home in them hard hat helmet with them paycheck in them pocket. That's what a booming economy looks like. You know what a booming economy looks like? Is when you can send your picnic to school and don't have to worry that the picnic going to come home and tell you that the teacher said that if you don't pay the school fee, they're going to put you up. So I want to build that booming economy. And let me tell you of some of the things quickly that you can expect from a Labour Party government. I hardly went through some of them. In Parliament we have laid out a number of them. But one of them will be the building of a new city in Jamaica to manage the spread of urbanization and manage a process of revitalizing the blighted urban areas and towns of Jamaica. We will start a program to rebuild and reconstruct Jamaica into a modern city, into a modern country with world-class infrastructure. And from that program, all of the youth them where you see a walk around with rag over them head and all them a do a rub them, them won't have time for the mischief because they will be working on all those projects. That is how you give people sustainable employment. Najib, we want to build Jamaica. We have members of the diplomatic corps here. And let me say something very quickly. For too long, we have viewed our foreign policy as an inert tool in public policy, as a tool that has no influence on economic growth and development. I want it to be known clearly that the Jamaica Labour Party will use its foreign policy to influence economic growth and development in Jamaica. For too long, we have used foreign policy as if it can have no impact. Well, let me tell you something. The international associations of which we were a part in the 70s and the 90s, those are no longer influential in the world. Jamaica has to re-examine its position. We have a brand name and we must use that brand name to secure access in the new dynamics of global affairs. We will go out there and place Jamaica back on the radar of the international community. When I talk to international investors and when I talk to the governments of the world, there is a feeling, and there's a feeling in Jamaica as well, that Jamaica has dropped off the radar. That people don't see us as the destination for serious investment. That people don't see us as a country open and ready and serious about development. We have to use our foreign policy to change that. But we have been so wrapped up in CARICOM. And let me tell you, I am a Caribbean man, but I am a Jamaican man first. And I believe that a weak Jamaica cannot make a strong CARICOM. And the way in which things are structured now, we will have to take a very close look at our continued participation in CARICOM. There are rules there that allow us to temporarily halt our participation until we can get our house in order in Jamaica. And the Jamaica Labour Party is prepared to look at that. And while I'm talking about CARICOM, I hear the Prime Minister saying that she's going to bring the CCJ bill to Parliament. Well, this is an example of how not to use foreign policy. One of our greatest assets is that our final court is an internationally recognized court of arbitration and appeal. And we want to take away ourselves from it. We're not serious about investment. Things not going so well in CARICOM. Our citizens aren't being treated with respect. And yet, we want to go and further intensify our ties with CARICOM. I said no to that. carry come first. Make we build our economy first before we start to pretend that we're big, bad and politically independent. We must now seek to secure our economic independence, because it is in our economic independence that we will truly be able to secure our political independence. I'm tired of hearing young people come to me. They can't pay their university fees. Whole heap of them coming, want to get an education, they can't get it. We will reform the student loan program to make sure that any Jamaican who wants to go and study tertiary level can get access to tertiary level. One of the most important things, you see, in attracting investment to the country is not just the crime situation, it's not just the regulatory environment, it is also the quality of our labor force. Less than 16% of our labor force is trained in the technical and vocational areas in which the new jobs that investment will carry into Jamaica will need. It is a pet project of mine. We had already done the work to develop it. It will put young people to earn while they learn. It will put young people to develop the skills, knowledge and attitude that will enhance their natural creativity and skill. The Jamaica Labour Party will establish a national program of apprenticeship for our young people to ensure that they are trained and ready and an asset in attracting investment into Jamaica. That is one way in which we will be moving out of austerity and into prosperity. Another thing that you can look forward to. A lot has been said about improving export, and we will be doing that. But there are some low-lying fruits. We have to engage in a systematic program of import substitution. We have to figure out how to grow rice in Jamaica so we can stop importing so much rice into the country. That is just one example, but there are two critical areas, the agriculture food area and the energy area. We have to start using renewable energies. Once we do the import substitution, then that means we have to take less foreign exchange to spend on imports. Many governments have tried this, but it never always works. And you know why? Because they have just looked at it in a very narrow way. I plan to look at it from an industry-wide way. So we're going to make sure we provide the credit. We're going to make sure that the regulatory environment is aligned. We're going to make sure that the tax system is aligned to support the development of industries that can substitute importation into our country, thereby saving our foreign exchange. I see the conference chairman, Desmond Mackenzie, looking at me. And when him give you that look, you know, him telling you, all right, Andrew, the people get the message. But if you allow me today, I would just talk out my heart. Because it's full and overflowing. And there's a lot of things to say. But we'll have another time. Labor rights. I feel good. And you know what? You made me stronger.
You made me stronger. You made me stronger.
say to Jamaica that you can make us even stronger if on the 1st of December, you see this beautiful lady here, a daughter of the soil of Westmoreland. If you send a message to the PNP that you don't want any government take you for granted, that you want a government that is accountable, that is truthful, you want a government that is in your interest, send a message. Vote them out of Central Westmoreland. And so we come to the end of another great conference. You have a message. You have a charge. We are going to win the next general election. We are going to take authority, office, and power. And I make my commitment today, I don't make promises, that we will use it in the interest of the people, in your children's interest, to build our lovely country. God bless you. Until I see you again, go